Whew. Right. Let's do this thing then. Let's do this thing. Hello, everybody. I'm sorry to have dragged you away from Manchester City against Tottenham. Again, this is a little bit of a process time-wise. I'm tinkering with, and I want to try and do a few more bits and bobs with this channel over the course of the season. But I didn't really fancy test driving it out over the pre-season because I wanted that time off because I was knackered after the Euros. So yes, we'll be moving a few things around, and hopefully by the time we're really in the season, we've got a good flow of things going on here. Anyway, let's talk about Derby losing 2-1 at Peterborough, conceding 2 goals in what was a lengthy injury time. The injury time added, unfortunately, because Colin Kazim-Richards has suffered an injury, the extent of which will be known over the next few days when he has, proper assessment and stuff like that. But Wayne Rooney coming out and saying that he could be out for a long time is obviously not encouraging. He had said the same about Christian Bielik and his injury, and we all know what happened with that. So fingers crossed it isn't anything season-ending for Colin. But of course we'll figure that out in the next few days and so forth. I think the biggest takeaway from this was individual errors cost Derby, and Rooney had spoken about that in his post-match press conferences. This was a lead that Derby should have never surrendered. The first goal is really poor from everybody. I think defensively involved. You have Forsyth not big enough in the air. I thought he could have been stronger. Usually falls asleep on his man. He has, and that's twice now in 2 games for Camille, and he's just got to be better defensively. There's no real excuse for that. He's just got to be better and more switched on defensively and aware of what's around him. He looks at the ball too much and not too much at his man, in my opinion. Obviously, it's a delicate skill to keep your head swiveling round and know what's in front and behind, but he's just got to be more aware of what's going behind him. And then I think Nathan Byrne gets sucked in and doesn't quite realise or recognise what's behind him as well. And then the second goal, Davis and Bird go for the same ball, and then Forsyth doesn't stop the cross coming in, and then Nathan Byrne makes a real hash of it, and Dembele plonks it in. Just infuriating goals to concede because they're really, really sloppy, and Derby have given away sloppy goals. Pretty much every goal they've given away this season has been poor. You look at some of the goals, a couple of the goals that they conceded in the Carabao Cup game. The one from 25 yards, which got to close down in the midfield better. Allsop's got to do better. The one from the corner, which usually falls asleep at. They concede really, really soft goals, and that continued again at Peterborough. And they're not in a position to do that, particularly not now with the firepower seriously diminished. Now, obviously, as Sky Sports had said on their broadcast, if the EFL deem Kazim-Richards' injury serious enough, they may consider being more lenient on the embargo that is currently placed upon Derby, but it has to be, they'll have to consult medical professionals and experts and all that thing before they do that. But they needed firepower before Colin went down with injury. They definitely need it now. I know Wayne has spoken about wanting to keep hold of Baldock and Jagielka. Now I'm guessing with Colin going down, Baldock will be the priority, and I'm sure they've got alternatives as well. But he wanted to keep that hub of unsigned players that they had training at Derby. He wanted to keep them there, so I assume Baldock might be one of the first to get an offer if the regulations are slackened. And of course, at some point, something has to move. I think Derby are due to refile resubmit their accounts for 2016, 17 and 18. They're due to do those in 3 days. I don't know where they're at with that process. The last I checked, they hadn't submitted those, but that was, a week ago. But right now I'm not sure where they are at with that process. I've not checked today because today's Sunday and it's my day off, so it'll be something that I try and chase up on Monday. The game. Let's talk about the game anyway. I thought Derby would struggle if they couldn't zip the ball around with the same kind of tempo that they did, particularly in the second half against Salford and against Huddersfield. Peterborough, for the way that they got beat at Luton, they did make life very difficult for Luton. They, 4-4-2, two banks of four, squeeze them between the lines. And if you don't have a very confident ball player to find Lawrence and Morrison, if you don't have someone that's going to snap those balls in between the lines and find them and try and create, and there are going to be tight spaces that you're going to have to try and fit the ball through. It was going to be a long afternoon creatively for Derby, and I think that's what we saw. We saw Morrison and Lawrence drop really, really deep to try and get hold of the ball, because I don't think they were necessarily getting the service into them that they would like, and certainly not on a frequent and consistent basis. Which is a shame, because I thought Max had started the season, really well against Huddersfield. He'd had a really, really positive performance. Graham Shinney, I think, tried some moments to get it forward, and I low-key think Shinney has had a pretty poor first couple of games to start the season by his own usually excellent standards. I think Graham Shinney has had a poor couple of games to start this season. Nathan Byrne, I would put in that category as well. Played a hand in both of the goals being conceded. Was fun matchup with Thomas against Huddersfield, but I thought by the end Thomas had the better of him. They, by their own standards, have had two poor starts to the season, and they need to be better. But Keller was a bit indecisive with some of the balls at his feet and stuff like that. There was one that Marriott almost chased down. There was one early in the first half as well. Thought he's going to be better there. And I wonder if maybe options-wise he didn't have what he was looking for, but they've got to be better. They've got to be better there. Morrison, gets his assist, creates a couple of chances, but I want to see him further up the pitch. He kept dropping deep, and we saw that against Salford, even though it was a tactical switch with Hutchinson. Really need to get Morrison on the ball more in the final third, in those central areas, get him on the half turn. A lot like how Derby have kind of been with Sibley. I mean, one of the things that Bird did really well was when Sibley came on, and Sibley collects the ball on a half turn, and he goes and runs at a defender. And I want to see more of that connection, but sort of Bird to Morrison, and Morrison picking the ball up on the half turn and then him going. But we didn't see enough of that. I think, Stretton and Kazim-Richards between them had one touch in the box, and it was Stretton's goal. I actually touches in his, sort of involvement. But, Kazim-Richards only had 15 touches by Opta's metrics, and Kazim-Richards had 16, Jack Stretton had 15, but only one of those came in the box between them, and that was for Stretton's goal. They only had one shot between them, and that was again Stretton's goal. They have to do more to service their strikers. They had 10 touches in the opposition area, 7 shots, 2 on target. They needed more. They really did need more. And Wayne had said that he felt that Derby were the better side. I actually thought the game was pretty evenly matched, and I thought for the clear-cut chances, I thought Peterborough created the more clear opportunities. But again, that's a game of opinions. But I personally thought Peterborough edged it. However, when Derby went ahead, they should have never have surrendered that lead. I worry now for what happens on the goals front. I think Tom Lawrence has had quiet couple of games. He's not been bad, but I think he's not been as effective as he was at the back end of last season, when 3 goals and an assist, and was really holding up, in terms of the offensive firepower that Derby needed him to bring. He really brought that at the end of last season. Hasn't quite carried it forward to the start of this season, and they'll need him to do that even more so now with Colin going down. Festi was pretty good. I thought Festi was pretty good. He was Derby's best offensive outlet, I thought, in the first half. I thought he really tried to stretch him. And they had this thing where Festi was keeping the width and going on the outside, and they had Nathan Byrne tuck in slightly, almost as an inverted fullback. And then once Festi went off, Byrne went as a more traditional wing back out there. And they looked better when they did that. I can understand if the thinking from Rooney was, well, Festi is quicker than Nathan, so I want him to maintain the width and also stretch Peterborough vertically. But also I want Nathan to push up, get into those crossing positions and go in on sort of the underlaps and try and get crosses from those positions. I understand that, but maybe a little bit muddled at times. Once Festi went off and Nathan had that freedom to go up the wing again, he put in a pair of really good balls within like a minute of being reverted back to that role. So maybe that's the way forward if they're going to do that. But defensively, again, I thought he struggled. But I have no doubt that he'll get better at that. But they need them to get better at that really, really quickly. Butler, I was someone that I had identified watching Peterborough's game back against Luton. Butler was someone from the left wing back position that I thought if Derby don't close him down, he's going to get a lot of joy, and he did. I think he said he sent in 6 crosses, and a few of those were really, really dangerous. And I wondered if Derby were going to try and cut off that supply, before it did any further damage. Now, the irony being that he doesn't do any meaningful or lasting damage, does Butler, but I did worry if Derby were going to close him down or not. Let's get to your questions. Sibley, too reckless and aggressive at times, holding back from more starts. I think Sibley can sometimes be in the Lawrence category. So you remember when Lawrence a couple of seasons ago had totted up 10 yellow cards before New Year? I think that would be Sibley if he started every game. I think he gives away those petulant fouls, the ones that tot up and you get 2 or 3 and then the ref goes look, you had one over there, this is your third, I'm giving you a booking. I think Sibley gets too many of them, and I think sometimes it's frustrating. It's a delicate balance because he plays on the edge naturally, and I don't think you want to take that away from him because it's a part of his game. There was a game, I can't remember if it was pre-season or it was the Huddersfield game. He committed a foul and Max Bird just had a quick word with him. And I know those two had that connection from the under-23s. Max was a much more assured, calm head. And he said, and I remember speaking to him at our interview that we did last year. And he said sometimes he has to have a word with Sibley and just calm him down a bit. But yeah, I think maybe that does play into it, Edward. I think maybe that plays into why Sibley doesn't get more starts. Because for me, he's stitched together 3 very impressive performances now, both off the bench against Peterborough and Huddersfield and the start that he got against Salford. He's had a good start to the season, Sibley. I think he runs with more purpose when he's got the ball. He just, he's much more aggressive on the ball. He wants to get his shot away from the edge of the area. He wants to get in the box. I think he's had a good start. I wonder maybe, if it is the petulant fouls that he gives away that maybe is a doubt in the mind. Felt sorry for him not getting the start, but there's no doubt that Eberseli deserved his place on the right after what he did against Salford. Hello, Charlie. Nice to see you all again as well. Hello, everybody. Hello, Kieran. Very frustrating end to the game. Controlled large parts. We didn't create enough. Hoping the injury to Kazim isn't too serious. Right. Yeah. Firstly, it sounds like the injury to Kazim-Richards, just going off Rooney's comments, is going to be serious. Now, obviously, we have to wait for an assessment, but it just sounds that way because with these kinds of things, Rooney's always been very, very honest in terms of what the injuries to his players are. Said it with Christian, he'd said it with Jason earlier in the before the season with that 50-50, and now this with Colin. Do worry. Yeah, I thought Derby did control large parts of the game, but I don't think they made Peterborough work too hard. Was my issue. I thought Peterborough were always kind of in control off the ball. I thought they funneled Derby where they wanted to go. Derby were better in an attacking sense, certainly for the last 15 minutes of the game. I thought they were certainly trying to push for the second goal. It just never came. Usually, I can Sibley at fault for the first goal. Yeah. Craig Forsyth as well. I think Craig has got to be much better in the air there. I know the ball couldn't, but to me, he's just got to be stronger in the air. And I think Byrne is also at fault for the first goal, and Byrne at fault for the second goal. I think you could chuck Forsyth in there as well. He doesn't stop the cross coming in. And Davis and Bird go for the same ball. It needs a bit of communication and authority to get that out. There were a lot of, in my opinion, little individual errors that led to both of those goals. In my opinion, Rooney needs to admit his mistake and change captaincy already. Tom is not a leader and Tom is not performing at the moment. Chris, I think if he were to do that, could actually be very dangerous. We've had 2 games, league games. I don't think that's an accurate barometer of a captain at all. You could say the body of work Tom has had before that is, but now his role has changed. He is a leader. He is captain. I think he needs time to almost find his feet with the armband and find what kind of leader he is going to be. Personally, think there are more ready-made leaders in the side, but this is the decision that has been taken. Do I agree with it? Not personally, but But we're here now, and I can see Rooney's reasoning. And sometimes it's a move that you think, look, Rooney's going to need Tom for large parts of this season. He just is. Whether anybody likes it or not, he just is. And Tom, in last season, played a big factor in helping Derby stay up. And the season before that, got 10 league goals. So he's clearly, he is very talented. He's one of Derby's best players. And generally when he goes, Derby go. I can see the reason in giving him the armband. I just don't agree with it. But to take it away from him now, in my opinion, would not be a smart decision. That would be a bad decision to do that, in my opinion. That would cause rifts. And I don't think they need that right now. But I agree he's been quiet. I do agree that Tom has been quiet, and I don't think he's been at his best. But yeah, I think to take it away would be. Do you think 11 minutes was too much extra time? I was a bit surprised, but it did take a long time to get Colin sorted and off the field and those sorts of things. What did that total up to? 6 minutes or so? Plus general stoppages, and was there one for a Peterborough player as well? So yeah, maybe a bit, but there was always going to be a big chunk of added time. And sorry, you've just got to keep on playing to the whistle and play to the end, and do your job and defend. I thought Clark Harris for Peterborough was excellent, and I thought Jack Marriott. I thought that front two for Peterborough was really good. Marriott was. I always thought Marriott was better in a two, and I think a lot of fans have thought that as well. I know that's not an original thought, but I've always thought Marriott has been better in a two. I remember briefly when Cocker had played him as a two as part of the Diamond, and that was the liveliest he ever really looked. He ran the channels really well. He closed Calaroos really well. He dropped in really well as Clark Harris stayed back there. I think with Marriott, if you play him as a two and you let him freestyle a little bit, if you have one guy that drops in, he's got the speed to spin him behind. And just on, I know he doesn't play for Derby and there might be split opinions, but it's nice. He looked fit, and that's just nice. Like, he didn't endure the best times at Derby with his fitness for one reason or another, and he looked fit again, and that's just nice to see. Because, no matter who you play for, what allegiances are, I never really want to see a player's career that just starts because of injuries. So that was lovely to see. At least he didn't score, so that was nice to see. But I thought him and Clark Harris were really, really good. Clark Harris was a real handful for Peterborough, and I think he could be. If Peterborough are going to stay up, I think they're going to need Clark Harris to get 10, 12 goals, and I think he's capable of that on first showing. Peterborough do try and get the ball out and play well. But I didn't think Derby pressed them well enough. I thought Peterborough lost the ball really easily to Luton. Now, obviously, maybe that's a confidence or just jitters and the confidence and stuff like that first championship game. But I thought Derby could have squeezed them a bit more into mistakes in their own half. They did it a few times, but I thought they could have done it more. And I thought that would be a big missed opportunity. I thought this game in general was a big missed opportunity. They had some momentum built up in what I thought was a credible draw against Huddersfield. Thought a point was a fair result. Real gut check kind of game and character shown after the Salford game. Really, really good result. I know, Salford first found of the Carabao Cup, but in the context of the game that played out, that was an excellent win for a really young squad. They were building some momentum, and I thought this was just real wind out of their sails moment. The manner of the defeat, the manner of the goals conceded, the loss of Colin. I think Forsyth and Lawrence were limping as well by the end. It was a real gut punch at a time when you just thought they were starting to build just a little bit of momentum. And I think the away game against Hull is quite big, because if they don't win that, it'll be, no win to open the games, the first three games, 4 if you throw in the cup. But no win there. And then you are looking at Derby going into a bit of a brutal period into September, October time. So I think they do need. I think they do need a win against Hull. Not the end of the. And again, Hull is another team that's come up. Derby should fancy their chances, but equally, Hull will fancy their chances of beating Derby, particularly after Hull opened the season in such impressive fashion. Why are we so one-dimensional in our attacks? Also, tempo and slow build-up, never hit it longer into space or try things, so never score freely. Is the squad limiting us on this? Nav, I think this was the first time this season, if we count the pre-season, that Derby had really played like this. They had their moments against Salford in the pre-season where they were a bit one-dimensional. But honestly, I think Peterborough squeezed the lines really well and didn't allow Derby to play in the areas that they want to play into. I think that's where someone like Christian is a big miss. I think Max has been better, but I think Christian is more consistent at what he does playing through the lines. I think Peterborough did a good job actually recognising Eberseli and sort of bracketing him quite well. Eberseli found it quite difficult to find the spaces that he was being allowed to get into before. And yeah, I just don't think that they really service the strikers well enough, be that from getting more bodies in the box, the strikers themselves moving into good areas. Like Jack moved into some pretty good areas when he came on the pitch. Yeah, I think the squad is limiting on this, but I think the squad was limiting anyway. This is a limited squad. It's a really limited squad. And when you have a limited squad, the way that you attack is going to be limited. But I think what they are trying to do and what Wayne and his coaching staff are trying to implement is to not make them so one-dimensional, is to make them much more free-flowing, is to make them more dangerous in transition. Now, to be fair to Derby, they have been better in transition. We saw it against Salford, we saw it against Huddersfield, but Peterborough didn't really offer Derby those moments in attacking transitions. They kind of smothered them in that sense, in my opinion. So I think Peterborough just did a really good job of kind of frustrating what Derby wanted to do. They still had their moments, but not enough of them. Can you put these mistakes on the coaching team now? How often these mistakes happen in the exact same way? Yes and no. Because I think these mistakes were happening under Philip. Let's not act like this is a new problem under Wayne. These mistakes were happening under Philip. And at some stage, yes, it is on the coaching staff to really. I don't know what methods that obviously that they're using to try and communicate and things like. But if your player doesn't switch on, then your player doesn't switch on. You know, Wayne Rooney and his coaching staff and well, not really, because Twan Sheepers and Van der Veerden were there. Justin Walker had been brought up in the second season that Philip obviously didn't see out. But this was an issue that they had in Philip's first full season, and the coaching staff was all right. It wasn't drastically different, but there were different people and different voices in there, and crucially, a different manager who ultimately makes a lot of the top-down decisions. So he didn't have the same. It wasn't the same. It's apples and oranges. You can't compare the two, in my opinion. That doesn't work. But I get what you're getting at. At some point, this isn't all the players' fault. I understand that at some point, your coaching staff have to take responsibility. But I'm not sure what you can do with Camille switching off at the back post and not like. If you can practice who's picking up who and what zones, who's going into what zones and who's doing what. If your guy just falls asleep and doesn't know his guys at the back, you never win that. And ultimately, if he's going to keep on doing that, he's going to get dropped, which Camille, did. And then even when he does come on, he does that. And I imagine Camille will be on the bench again for Wednesday's game. You've got experienced guys in there: Curtis Davis, Richard Stearman, Nathan Byrne. These are all really, really experienced guys. You cannot. No amount of coaching on planet Earth will account for the mistake that Byrne makes for the winner. It just won't. In my opinion, Byrne's just got to kick that out first time, and I think he tries to, get it under his feet or clear it or something. But to me, he's just got to try and smash that anywhere first time. No coaching on earth can account for that. That's a mistake. It's an individual mistake. But yes, at some point, you can't just blame the players. At some point, it is a coaching issue, but also it's not fully a coach. It's collaboration, isn't it? Wayne and his coaching staff and Liam and Justin and those guys, they can implement as many things as they want. If a guy just isn't looking or a guy just gets the ball stuck under his feet, you can't account for that. That's just bad. That's individual errors. And yeah, they have to fix those. They have to fix those. Concentration has to be at an absolute premium. And it has to be at its absolute. You cannot do that. And unfortunately, it wasn't even from a set piece. It was from crosses and stuff like that. The winner comes from a crossing open play. But yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Like Derby dropped so many points from winning positions last year. They dropped a lot of points late last year, and they conceded a lot of late goals that lost them games last year. I think the one that they did get was the wisdom winner at Wickham, and but yeah, they do that a lot. I think this team does have character. I think it does have a strong character. I wouldn't start questioning that after the manner of this loss, because we just saw what they did against Salford. And yes, the level is different, but this group does really have a lot of character. But character won't make up for individual mistakes, I'm afraid, and that's kind of that. Guys, look, really sorry to drag you away from Spurs versus Manchester City, but thank you for jumping in. Sorry if I didn't have the same energy today. We're kind of down bad, but we're good. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. Listen, thanks so much. You guys enjoy. Oh, okay. Last one. Can Stretton get us the goals needed? Chris, he's probably going to have to, for the short term at least. Can he? I think he's. I could say this about a lot. I think his finishing at this level needs to be better, but he gets himself into really, really good positions. I like everything around Stretton's game, and I have done, for the last couple of seasons when I've been watching the academy as well. I like everything that he does, actually. I think he makes really, really clever runs. I think he's really sharp inside the box, makes some really good movement inside the box, but his finishing is a bit meh. He had one last season where he hit the bar, where he kind of, I think that was against Wickham, where he hit the bar. He kind of leans back with that. He had one against, was it Salford, where he kind of doesn't get hold of the ball properly, and so he gets himself into good positions, but when the moment of truth arrives, it's just it's just not happening for him at the moment. His goal, by the way, was excellent. Really, really well taken goal. It's so easy to sky that. He gets his head over it, keeps it down, lashes it in, and good, stays alive in the box, anticipates that the ball might fall to him. Stuff like that will go a long way to getting him more goals, and that he's going to need, obviously, to come good with that, and that starts against Hull. Can he? Yes, I think Stretton is better than Whittaker. I think hardly fair because they play two different positions, but I think Stretton is more developed as a player overall than Whittaker is at this stage in his career. But yeah, I think, can he? Yeah, but I think his finishing at this level has got to be better. But he certainly has all the tools to be able to find the net. Really good run, sharp movement, times his runs really well. Yeah, he's got that. So yes, thank you all very, very much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll be back here Thursday. Of course, for those of you that don't know, I am not allowed out of the house for the next week or so for isolating purposes. So yeah, that kind of sucks. But anyway, you enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will see you here on Thursday. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.